now. Okay, viewers, this is Matthew from Geelong Let's Talk, and today we're talking to Sam Lamanna Lilley from Honey Source, and I can't remember, sorry Sam, you're going to have to introduce the other businesses you've got, because you seem to have a few going on. So say hello to our viewers, Sam.
G'day everybody, my name's Sam. I'm from Honey Source and from Three Horn. So Honey Source is a local beekeeping business based in Geelong, and Three Horn is a meadery. So we produce mead, which is like honey wine, based out in Bannockburn.
Oh, cool. So tell us a bit about how you got into this.
So beekeeping was something that came about, to be brutally blunt and honest, I was extremely poor, and my kids absolutely adored honey. They were going through so much honey that poor me did the maths, and I worked out what we were spending each year on honey and how much it would cost me to get started in beekeeping, and the numbers worked out. So yeah, it was Honey Source was based off creating our own source of honey.
Cool, fantastic. That's really good, and it's good for the environment too, is it? With regards to
it's good.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So our big push behind us is creating something that's sustainable and ethically sourced. So if we take great measures to make sure that we're not taking too much honey away from the bees, and making sure that they've got everything that they need to be happy and healthy, so that we can produce a nice, healthy product.
For those of us that are a little bit scared of bees, isn't it a little bit risky?
It can be, absolutely. Think of bees like any other breed of animal. So you've got your aggressive ones, you've got your super gentle, the real passive sort of animals. But, it comes a lot to do with your knowledge and experience and your approach with how you go about bees. Obviously, allergies do play a big part in that. Some people are anaphylactic to bee stings, but it's just kind of getting a general concept of what you're doing around the animal and making them as comfortable as they can be with you and as you can be with them.
So tell us a little bit about your links to Geelong.
I've been in Geelong for most of my life, a really good portion. I was born up in Mount Isa, which is far north Queensland, and I believe we moved down here when I was around 2. And yeah, we've been in and around the Geelong sort of area most of my life.
Fantastic, great to hear the roots of people that are coming on, doing these interviews and what their links are to the area and what their businesses are doing and stuff like that. Tell us, you mentioned the meadery. Tell me about what that involves.
So basically, it's very much like your traditional winemakers, where we use the yeast, water, and honey. The honey is the sugar that the yeast will eat and then convert to alcohol. So we can create our traditional mead, which is literally water, yeast, and honey. But the flavor profile can be, what you can create is highly dependent on how big your imagination is. It's limitless. We've got a blueberry mead, we've got an orange mead, and then we went down the rabbit hole and made a strawberry jam mead, where we made our own strawberry jam from scratch. So yeah, I mean, we're working on an apple pie mead. There's just so many different options and varieties that, just because somebody doesn't like a mead that they've tasted doesn't mean that they're not going to like any mead, full stop.
Okay, so the burning question is, for those who don't know, what is mead? The only thing I've heard about mead is in in old movies and games I play, like The Witcher and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Mead's one of the oldest known fermented drinks. So it's dates, I believe, back around 4000 BC is the oldest vessel that they've found that contained mead. Yeah, like I said, it's based around using honey as the fermentable sugars. And it comes out very much like a wine, but it can be carbonated, it can be petulant, it can be still, it can be, as sweet as your first love, or it can be as dry as a lecture. It's there's so many different varieties. It's hard to nail it all down into one sort of one very closed end niche. But yeah, traditionally people would have heard about it on like Game of Thrones, the show Vikings. It really does have quite a big tie to the Viking culture, but it was actually consumed, by high lords and nobles and royals and whatnot back in past. So it's a drink that was a very high end drink, as you could imagine. Honey's not cheap. And neither is mead. But it kind of fell out of stead once they discovered beer and cheaper drinks to brew, and yeah, it's starting to make quite a big resurgence. Back in the States, I think it was 2010, the United States had roughly about 50 meaderies nationwide, and now they're over 500. It's making a really, really big comeback.
So you're trying to make it trendy again?
Pretty much. We're not trying to make it trendy. We're just trying to make something that we think.
Okay.
We think people will love.
It's quite curious because of the fact that you called it a brewery, but when you think of brewery, you think of beer, but you're brewing mead.
Yeah. Because we don't. With the wineries, they're very mandated on their wording. So if you're a winery, you use grapes. We can use grapes, but because we have a lot of other ingredients that we can ferment with, we don't quite fall into that category.
Fair enough. And it puts you apart too. I mean, it's a little bit different too. Tell us about a day in the life of a beekeeper.
Well, come spring, which spring seems to be coming a little bit early. It's 19-hour days. Yeah. It's 6 days a week, 7 if I could last that long. But 19-hour days. It involves going out and maintaining our hives, making sure that they're healthy and they have everything that they need. But it also entails swarm captures. So people will find swarms that have landed in a tree or bush or something like that we can come and collect. Okay. If they get into walls or roof cavities or other mischievous places where they shouldn't be, we can rehome them out of there as well. But a lot of it's just the general day-to-day sort of maintenance. It's going around to all our different bee yards where we host our hives, making sure that we take the honey off when it's ready, make sure we give them extra boxes if they need more room, trying to prevent our hives from swarming, getting hives ready for people that are just starting up in beekeeping. I'm a one-man show, so I do all the marketing, and every jar is packaged by hand, labelled by hand, extracted by hand. Trying to find enough time for that in the day. And tending to my wounds whenever I get my numerous stings.
Okay. You'd be fairly used to that by now, though, wouldn't you?
Well, they still hurt.
Yeah. Fair enough. And the different types of honey in the region, I mean, I'm sure that would depend on where the bees are coming from or what type of flowers they're coming from while they're pollinating and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So A lot of people think that because there's flowers, there's honey. And
Okay,
it's just not the case.
educated.
A prime example would be, say, red gum honey. So a red gum tree will bloom, but depending on the weather, so if it's hot enough, if it's had enough rain, that'll all depend whether or not it actually even yields any nectar. It's still a great source for pollen for bees, that's their protein. But it just might not yield any nectar to then get converted into honey. It typically does a lot better up around the north of Victoria, where you get those moderate days but the nice hot nights. So it'll do quite well, but it also likes a decent amount of rain before it flowers. If it gets too much, it might drop the buds that would be the flowers that would get the honey crop. It's such a volatile thing to be able to depend on. And that's hurt us for the last 3 years running. Between the bushfires covering the state in smoke, to the rains. Last season we didn't even really get a summer. It's all so heavily weather dependent, just like every other aspect of traditional farming. But there's a lot of really great Victorian and Australian honeys out. We're prized as some of the best in the world. Australia is the last country that doesn't use harsh chemicals to control parasites and whatnot in their hives. So when there's a mite, which is called the Varroa mite or Varroa destructor, which every other country in the world has, and we're trying very desperately to not get. And if that lands, or once that lands, it's only a matter of time, really. Then beekeepers in Australia will have to integrate those chemicals just to control the Varroa.
Have you got a favourite honey yourself?
Red gum. Okay. Really, really rich honey. It's nice caramel notes. It's not too sweet. But yeah, caramel and toffee notes come out of that. It's great. I love it.
It's interesting when you describe the notes and all that sort of stuff. It sounds a little bit like those wine tasters sort of thing. Like you're describing the different. You get a woody taste, or you get a nutty taste, or yeah. So I like honey myself on the occasion. Grew up with honey on crumpets and all that sort of stuff, but it was just basically off the shelf sort of stuff. But I'm sure that you can actually taste the differences between the different types of honey from the hives.
Absolutely. You've got like sugar gum. That's a very, very sweet honey. The white mallee is very similar to that. The red gum, like I said, has nice toffee notes and caramel. The ironbark, that gives really, really, it throws you for a six. They're really floral notes. It all vastly, vastly changes depending on what it is and where it's come from. There was a client that I was helping with to manage their hives based up in the Otways, and it was a really dark, really thick honey, and it gave notes of aniseed. Oh, wow. So yeah, it's crazy how much it can all change just depending on what they're foraging from. It's awesome.
Main question is, are you loving what you're doing?
Every day. It's beekeeping's been a labor of love. We started this business back in 2017. We used 2017 to grow our hives and just really get a foothold on and establish up our stock. But it's been a very big grind to get to where we are. In our first year, somebody that we were wholesaling to, they went into voluntary administration, and we lost $25,000 worth of stock and sales. So there's been days where I can't do anything except love the process, and there's been days where you wonder why you're open. It's been ever changing, but at the end of the day, I love the grind of business. love the
Yeah.
process, and I love being able to do what we do and support people and supply people and meet people and just get to network with other business people, which has been amazing.
Yeah, cool. So tell the viewers again what your two businesses are.
So it's Honey Sauce and Three Horn.
Three Horn is the mead brewing
Yep.
company, right? Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Great.
So we've just moved premises. We opened in July with the meadery last year, and roughly every 3 months we've had double production just to keep up. And we've just moved out to Rowsley Fault Winery. So we're working in a bit of a co-op area where there's 3 vintners or winemakers and Three Horn. So
where's that? Did you say Rowsley?
Mm-hmm. Rowsley Creek Wine. They're based out in Sutherland's Creek. So I think that's towards Maud.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for enlightening us on your beekeeping and your meadery. It's been great talking to you, and hopefully the viewers can get some honey off you, honey or mead, whatever.
That'd be great.
Yeah, good on you.
Thanks for your time, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Thanks for talking to us. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Cheers, mate.